It's the middle of the week. We're finally home, and we're gonna watch a movie. So let's go pick one. Let's see what we got here. Ooh, what about this one? Oh, that's a little long. You know, I only got a couple hours. That's gonna be my whole night, basically. Let's keep looking. Oh, I like this one. Haven't seen that in a while. 3 hours? Dude. You know what would be good? A movie I can just watch on the weekday that's just like, not a huge time sink, but just enough that I can enjoy the full movie and then just go and do whatever else I want to do in my nighttime. So let's look at those movies today. So in this video, we're going to stick to what I consider the Goldilocks zone of movie length. That would be exactly 90 minutes. An hour and 45 maybe, give or take, but around an hour and a half, that's basically where you're looking. So let's get some out of the way right now. Alright, first one up to bat. Since the new movie is coming out like next week, why not watch the first movie? Beavis and Butthead Do America. Now, I grew up with this movie. I'm not a Gen Xer, neither are my brothers, but we were all into Beavis and Butthead for some reason. I mean, to my parents back then, a cartoon was a cartoon, so any cartoon was made for kids. Now, Beavis and Butthead might be a little bit adult, but it was really interesting come the time when Family Guy came around.
Dear Diary, jackpot!
And parents really did have to start looking at what was a cartoon for children and what was a cartoon for adults. Now, Beavis and Butthead isn't strictly a cartoon for adults either. It is enjoyable by children. That's why I watched it all the time, because there's a lot of stupid humor as well. But where this movie really shines is the same as other Mike Judge films. And this type of humor focuses on very specific types of people, characters I guess if you will, parodied from real life, but in this, because it's a cartoon, a little more to an extreme. Now you do have King of the Hill, which is also a cartoon, but this is definitely way more outrageous than that. King of the Hill is much more grounded. Beavis and Butthead is much more of like a Mad Magazine type of humor. It's still grounded to a level, but so many characters and situations are just completely out of whack.
Yes, Mr. President.
I am Cornholio. My bunghole, it goes...
Mr. President.
But anyway, the movie is an amazing commentary of the United States at the end of the 20th century. So check it out. It's only like 80 minutes. It's not even an hour and a half, so this went under par. Oh, and I guess I should also rate these. Beavis and Butthead Do America. 4 out of 5. There's just not another movie like it. Here's hoping that the new one will be just as good. Now, that movie was a comedy, but I might as well switch it up and give you some genre examples. So our next movie is going to be the horror film, Darkness Falls. I think I talked about Darkness Falls in my Boogeyman review because it's kind of similar. Actually, it's very similar. Except, technically, Darkness Falls is about the Tooth Fairy. And then a little later, there was also another movie called Dead Silence, and it was about puppets. It was all a trend at one time. But anyway, while Darkness Falls isn't the most amazing horror movie, and it doesn't really do anything really new, it's comforting in its familiarity. It's the perfect Saturday night under the covers with a bowl of popcorn movie. It is kind of scary as well, because there are some jump scares here and there, but what really sells it for me is the lore behind the character who's the main antagonist, and every way that they have to try and combat her. Actually, it has very similar rules to that movie Lights Out that's a lot more recent. It's the same idea where light hurts the supernatural villain. And in this movie, they find a lot of interesting ways to use that concept. So, give it a watch. Darkness Falls from 2003. I'd give it about 2.5 stars. Your perfect in the middle of the road movie, but it won't disappoint you. At number 3, let's leave Western cinema and go to Hong Kong. This movie is Shaolin Soccer, another comedy, also kind of a sports movie. I don't know why there's so many sports comedies, but for some reason they seem to work a lot. So keep them coming. But like Happy Gilmore is about golf and Talladega Nights is about NASCAR, this movie is about soccer. Shaolin Soccer is a movie about a bunch of Shaolin Kung Fu masters who are all retired and washed up from their glory days. They're all in different career paths now and don't even hang out as much anymore. Their main brother, I guess, gets them all together and feels that they could be very successful using their kung fu abilities to play soccer.
Oh, come on now.
Some of them need the money, some of them just want the experience of being together again, and some of them want the fame and the fortune. Which is all nice, but they have to go up against Team Evil. Yeah, the whole movie is just kind of like this slapstick type of humor. If you're familiar with the director's other works, Stephen Chow is more or less the Mel Brooks of Hong Kong. except much younger. I'm going to definitely talk about this movie again because it's one of my favorite comedies, and it pairs very nicely with one of his other great comedies, Kung Fu Hustle. So give it a watch. Shaolin Soccer, only 86 minutes. This is a great movie. I'd rate it 4.5 out of 5. Now I know what you're saying at this point. Hey, Lemony, give me some real hardcore shit. Well, there's a movie for you as well. Enemy by Denis Villeneuve. One of my favorite directors and probably the best director working right now. Enemy is one of the early entries in this filmography, but it has one of his best collaborators, Jake Gyllenhaal, in it. The movie also takes place in Toronto, which is very interesting because not a lot of movies do. Enemy is a psychological thriller that's very high level in concept. It's about a man who is seemingly stalked by another man who is exactly identical to him. One of these men is a professor at a local university, and the other is an up-and-coming actor who's a little bit struggling right now. There's a lot of depth to this movie that I couldn't even begin to really explain the plot. It's one of the movies you just have to experience for yourself and really just go into it blind so you can get the full experience. But be warned that you wanted a really Kino movie. That's what this is. This isn't for everybody, but for the people that it is for, they will really like it. Anyway, give it a shot. If this is your first Denis Villeneuve movie, I wouldn't really go with this one because it's not as accessible as his others like Arrival or Dune, but it's still great. It's just not as perfect as his other movies. And it's not specifically for me, but I do greatly appreciate the talent that went into it. But I'll give it a 3.5 out of 5. And that's just kind of more my personal opinion. And finally, for the last movie, let's go with a classic, an all-around cinema zeitgeist film. For 88 minutes of your life, you can watch Stand By Me. A movie that seems to have impacted quite a few people and is a staple in cinema history. Pretty much every name attached to this is part of our shared pop culture. The movie was directed by Rob Reiner. It was based on a story written by Stephen King. It stars classic 80s names: Will Wheaton, Kiefer Sutherland, River Phoenix, Corey Feldman, and that guy from Kangaroo Jack, Jerry O'Connell. The movie is set in 1959, and it's placed in a town that's basically forgotten by the rest of the country. One of these mining towns that were once bustling and booming, but have long since dried up, and everybody's kind of just stuck there. The movie is meant to be a coming-of-age film, and if anything, it is one of the coming-of-age films. The plot follows 4 12-year-old boys as they go in search of a rumored dead body over on the far side of the tracks. It's about a day hike, so they pack up a bunch of stuff, tell all their parents that they're sleeping over at somebody else's house, and make it along the tracks the whole day, getting into different scenarios, learning a lot about themselves. And oh yeah, never mind, it's not like a day, it's like a couple days because they stay overnight. The main character, played by Will Wheaton, his brother, the star baseball player, was killed in an auto accident, I think the summer before or something like that. And his family really does not take it well. It's one of those things where they kind of just ignore him and downplay him because his brother was the golden child. And the other characters have equally troubled lives that they all grow and develop through on this journey just to find this dead body. Which, I don't know why kids want to do that back in the past, but they do. They also have a gun, and they also smoke cigarettes, so there's that. Stand By Me is an absolute classic, and I would give it, people are going to hate me, but I'd still say 4.5 out of 5. The problem with Stand By Me for me is that it's just missing something to give it that extra panache to make it a perfect film. Anyway, those are 5 films under 90 minutes that you could watch pretty much on any weeknight and still get on with the rest of your night. Do you have any good movies you want to suggest that run a pretty short time frame? These are always really interesting to find, don't you think? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, thanks for watching.